Right, question 5. This rectangular frame is made from 5 straight pieces of metal. So 5 straight pieces of metal. The weight of the metal is 1.5 kg per meter. Work out the total length of the metal frame. So let's see if we can locate where the 5 pieces of metal are. So we've got 1 there, got 2, got 3, we got 4. So the diagonal is the 5th one. Right. Another thing in the question that we need to note straight away is that we're talking about a rectangle. Right, so there's a reason they're telling us it's a rectangle, because that gives us information. One of the main properties of a rectangle is that the opposite sides have equal lengths. So if this side is 12 meters, that means this must be 12 meters as well. And if this side is 5 meters, that means this side must be 5 meters as well. So we've got the measurement of 4 of the sides, which means we need to find the length of this diagonal here. So this is actually a question that needs Pythagoras, right? Even though it's disguised as something else. Right, so if we draw out this right angle triangle here. So anytime you're dealing with a right angle triangle and the question's asking about a length and you don't have angles, we have one angle, but if you don't have any of the other angles, the go-to should be Pythagoras. So I like to make a sketch of a triangle I'm dealing with. So we've got our right angle triangle and we're going to put the information we have already. So this is the 90 degrees there. We've got 5 centimeters, there's 5 meters here. 5 meters. And we know that this one's 12 meters. Right, the way you've probably learnt Pythagoras is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Right, a being one of the shorter sides, b is also one of the shorter sides. So a is a short side, b is the other short side, and the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is the longest side and is the length in front of your 90 degrees. So this is your hypotenuse. And the hypotenuse is what's usually labeled as C. So if we substitute what we know, so substitute means putting the numbers instead of the letters, we can rewrite this equation over here as a squared, which is 12 squared, plus we've got b is 5 squared, and that will tell us what c squared is. Now, for purposes of GCSE Maths, especially in paper 1, you are supposed to be able to instantly recall first 20 square numbers. Right? If you can't recall it, you can work this out, but generally speaking, you should know that 12 squared is 144, 5 squared is 25, and that will give us c squared. 144 plus 25 is 169. Now, if that's not immediately obvious, you can add them up here. So 4 plus 5 is 9, 4 plus 2 is 6, and then you've got the 169 there. So this will give us c squared. But what we really need to know is what the length of c is. We don't want to know what c squared is. So we do the inverse, or the opposite, which is to find the square root of 169. So c would be the square root of 169, which is basically what do you multiply by itself to give you 169, and that will be 13, right? Because 13 times 13 is 169. So what that tells us is this diagonal here is 13 meters long. Now, if you're familiar or very familiar with Pythagoras, you should recognize this immediately. This triangle as Pythagorean triple. It's one of the Pythagorean triples. So sometimes you don't need a lot of working out when it comes to Pythagoras, because some of them you just have triples. You just know the third number if you know the other two. Right, so the first one that you might see quite a lot is the 3, 4, and the 5 one. So that's a Pythagorean triple. So if you have a 3 centimeter side and a 4 centimeters side, the hypotenuse is going to be 5 centimeters without having to work it out. But you can if you wanted to, right? And another one is the one we've just seen just now, where if a short side is 5 centimeters and another short side is 12 centimeters or meters in this case, right, the last side, which is a hypotenuse, will be 13 centimeters. So these we call them Pythagorean triple. You don't need to memorize them because you can just easily work them out. So what we need to know at this point is the total weight of the frame. And how we do that is just by adding all the lengths of the pieces. So we need to know the total length and then multiply that by 1.5 kg. Right, so let's do the total length. Right, so the total will be 12 plus 12 plus 5 plus 5 plus 13. Right, so if we write that here, it's going to be 12 plus 12 plus 5 plus 5 plus 13. Right, you can do this in steps if you wanted to. So I know this bit is 24 plus these are 10 plus 13. Right, 34 plus 13, which gives me 34 plus 13, which is 47 meters. Right, you don't need to do all these steps, but if that's how you think, then we know that that's 47 meters. Now we know that it's 1.5 kg per meter, so basically the total weight is going to be 47 times 1.5. Right, for those of you that don't like multiplying with decimals, we can break this up into 47 times 1, and then we need 47 times a half. Now 47 times 1, that one's straightforward because we know that that bit's just going to be 47. All right, so this is 47. Now 47 times a half is basically the same as saying divided by 2, right? Times in anything by half means divided by 2, right? So this bit is equivalent to dividing by 2. So we can divide 47 by 2. So I've got 40 and I've got 7. Now half of 40 is 20. So, and half of 7 is 3.5. So if you're not sure about that, what's half of 7 pounds? £3.50. So that means half of 47 is, if we add these two together, is 23.5, right? Which then tells us that 47 times 1.5 is these two combined, right? So we've got 47.0, 23.5, and that will give us 5 point. So 7.3, 7 plus 3 is 10, carry 1, 4 plus 2 is 6. So the final answer will be 70.5 kg. Of course, if you're good with multiplying, you could just do 47 times 15, right, at this point, and then put 1 decimal place in. If you found this video useful, then you should watch this one next. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share.